Okay, you guys, I've been working on a new framework and I would love your feedback on this. Because if you're anything like me, you've heard people say you need to have a savings account here, you need to have an emergency fund, you need to invest for the long term, but you also need to save for short-term purchases. And then you have all these different accounts and also all these different financial goals, right? And I think this just gets overwhelming and confusing. So I've been thinking, why not just break it down into two sides? Life side and wealth side, because I think that this can simplify your money so that you almost do not have to think. And everything becomes easy when we don't have to think, right? If we haven't met, I'm Sophia. I've been learning about money and investing for the past decade, and I'm always trying to find new ways to make building wealth as easy for you as possible so that you succeed. All right, so I call this framework life side, wealth side, and it's rather easy really, because we only need to think in those two terms, life or wealth. Right? Life side or wealth side. All right, now let's start with the life side. So life side is everything that you spend your money on to fund your lifestyle, either right now or throughout the year. So these are daily expenses like groceries, also eating out or drinking coffee. Now, I don't know if you drink coffee, and if yes, how many? I, to be honest, have stopped drinking coffee or reduced it to like once a month, especially because of the health benefits, because caffeine really messes with our sleep. And by the way, it's also highly addictive. So when you stop, you probably will get symptoms. In fact, for me, it wasn't even coffee. For me, it was tea. I used to have a black tea every morning. And then when I stopped drinking that, I had a headache for 3 days. And I never have a headache. This was really scary, to be honest. And so I returned to plain water. But anyway, back to daily expenses. So groceries, eating and drinking out. Eating out here can be grabbing your breakfast on your way. It can be having lunch or dinner with either your colleagues or your family and friends. And it's also all the snacks in between. So this is all a lifestyle, right? Snacks. Then you also have your weekly and monthly expenses like housing, transportation, utilities. Then when you go out on weekends, let me call that leisure time. You know, when you go out on weekends, you go do something or see something. This can also be going out to restaurants then, or going out to bars, having a bunch of drinks. Well, since I already quit coffee for the health benefits, it will not surprise you that I also do not drink alcohol. This saves quite a lot of money, by the way. And then you have expenses throughout the year, right? Which is going shopping, going on vacation. All right, and those are basically all the spending categories that fund your lifestyle on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, right? So all of this is the life side. Now, if it so happens that you also save for some things on this list, like for example a vacation, or you're saving for a specific handbag, or whatever is on your shopping list. Maybe you're saving for a wedding or for Christmas gifts. All of those things, and I mean, saving, the word saving here can be confusing, right? Because it feels like something that's supposed to make us feel good, like we're saving for our future, but we're actually not. We're saving for the life side. We're saving it now to spend in the future, in the rather immediate future, right? All right, and now let's talk about the wealth side and afterwards about the relationship between the two. All right, now the wealth side is all the accounts where you put money that works for you, right? Where you put money in order to grow your wealth bigger and bigger. Let me take another color. So this will be a high yield savings account. A high yield savings account where you store your cash reserve, or in other words, emergency fund. Now you may wonder why I put the cash reserve onto the wealth side or the emergency fund. In fact, I prefer the word cash reserve because I think it just sounds much more positive than emergency, you know, but it's basically the same, right? It's a pile of cash that you have on the side so that you can cover expenses that unexpectedly come up. And now the thing is, if you need that money, you will take it from there and you will pay for the unexpected expenses, right? But the purpose of this high yield savings account where you have the cash reserve is to actually be filled up most of the time, right? So even if we need to tap into the cash reserve, we fill it up afterwards as soon as we can. And that's the reason why I put this onto the wealth side. Now, here can also be money market funds, but only if you do not use the money market funds to save for short-term purchases, right? So I put the high yield savings account here and the money market fund here. But if you use either of those two to save for purchases like a vacation or a wedding or whatever, then this would go onto life side, right? These are only the accounts that you use for the cash reserve or to actually like keep your money. So the other accounts that would go onto wealth side would be pre-tax investment accounts. So this is what gets deducted from your gross income and then gets invested for your retirement. A pre-tax investment account in the US, for example, would be the 401k. Then we have after-tax investment accounts. This is what you put from your net income. So from your take-home pay, what you put into retirement accounts. And after that, after you've maxed out those, you have the taxable brokerage account. So this is where you keep on investing additional money, right? And then also on the wealth side are other investments that you intend to keep or use to grow your money, right? So this may be crypto, or this may be P2P lending or other forms of lending money to other people. And all the other investments that you can trade over the stock exchange are kind of like included in all the investment accounts, right? I hope you can see this right. I probably need better pens. Anyway, so on the wealth side are all the like instruments that we use where we put our assets that will eventually make us financially free, right? Oh, I forgot one. I forgot real estate. Let me put it here. Now, okay, this is a bit of a tricky one. I will put real estate and I put in brackets as investment. And this brings us to the tricky question of financing your home. And I'm going to be honest with you. When you buy your own home, this will be an asset at some point because you have the value of the home. But home ownership at the same time is not really an investment that pays you, right? It's rather an investment that costs you money. It costs you the mortgage, including the interest rate on the mortgage. It costs you maintenance costs and all these little hidden costs over the years. And the way I would probably like put this is close to the border. Or how you could also think of this, okay, if less than half of the home is paid off, I would put it onto life side because it's just a lot of costs and the bigger part of the house still belongs to the bank. Let me put that here. Your own home. And then I will put it here also into brackets. Own home. Okay, so I put it here, right? Your own home and also here your own home. And I don't want to dive into this too deep right now. I just think that it's very easy to buy your own home and to think that you're building wealth and building like real assets. And at the end of the day, you will have a house or you will have a home where you do not have to pay rent anymore, but you will have other types of costs, right? And then it's too easy to neglect all of the other parts of building wealth. And that is why I wanted to like nuance this a little and put it onto both sides, life side and wealth side, right? Okay, now before I continue with how these both sides intertwine, I want to let you know I'm hosting a web class where I talk you through all the strategies that I used to build a multiple six-figure net worth. So to systematically build on this wealth side. It's completely free, it's live, and you will find a link down below where you can sign up. All right, now let's look at the relationship between life side and wealth side. Now, when you imagine you receive your income, right? And let's say your income, let me write that here, income comes in. So you have an income, and your income comes in, and then you decide where it goes, right? You decide whether it goes on the life side and or whether it goes on the wealth side. Now, unless you already are financially free, a part of your money will always flow to life side, right? Because you have to cover your costs. But when you split and you do not just let 100% of your income flow onto the life side, but you also let a part of your income flow into the wealth side, then what you do is you start building a nest egg, right? You start building a money tree. And the beauty of this is that at some point, the money tree will also cover your life side. Now, at first, 100% of your lifestyle will be funded by your income because your investments do not generate enough income yet. But over time, let me draw a line here. So in the beginning, it will be very small, right? Or let me make it round. In the beginning, it will be very small. So small you won't even notice. And you will probably start funding your retirement first, right? So this is rather for your future self and not so much for yourself right now. But when you keep building, this line here will get bigger and bigger and bigger. So that at some point, you do not have to cover so much from your income for your life side. You can also cover parts of your life side from the income from your investments. This can be through interest income. It can be through dividend income. It can be through capital gains if you decide to sell little parts of your investments to live off of them. And eventually, if this side here, the wealth side, is big enough to cover all your life side here, you don't even need an income anymore. unless you want to keep creating an income. But theoretically, you do not have to, because your wealth side covers all of it, right? So this is when your work becomes optional, and this is when we reach time freedom, and this is when you reach financial freedom. But that obviously requires that you make a decision. That you make a decision to not just fund your life side from your income, but also your wealth side. Now, first, real quick, let's talk about how you can determine right now what sides you're feeding on right now. So I think a good way would be to look at your accounts, right? You will have several accounts. And then based on what goes into the account and what you pay from the account, you can determine, is it a life side account or is it a wealth account? If, for example, should you have one checking account right now and you have no contributions to retirement, then you only have a life side, right? You have nothing on the wealth side yet. If you have a checking account where you pay your bills from, and you have a high yield savings account where you store your cash reserve, and you maybe also contribute to your 401k, and maybe also a Roth IRA, then you would have the ISA right here, right? You would have a pre-tax account, the 401k, and you would have an after-tax account, the Roth IRA, if you so live in the US. In other countries, the names will be different. And then the second thing you can do is you can check how much of your money, how much of your income is actually flowing onto your life side and how much is flowing into your wealth side. And I think for many of us, for me as well in the beginning, this was very unclear, right? But now with this model where you really only have two sides, it's either or, then you can really check, okay, how much actually goes into my high yield savings account? How much actually goes into my retirement account? And then you can determine the percentage or the amount of how much of your income goes onto the wealth side. And then you might find, okay, this is a little low. I had hoped it was more. And then you can increase it. Or maybe you find, oh wow, this is quite a lot of money I'm already putting there. I can be proud of myself. Or whatever you find out. And then you can decide to actively keep filling them more and more, if that's aligned with your goals. For example, if at the moment 90% of your income flows into your life side and 10% flow into your wealth side, then you may decide to set your goal to put 20% onto the wealth side and only put 80% of your income to the life side, so that you start strengthening this connection right here faster. And I think the third way you could use this framework, life side, wealth side, in case you are ambitious or you want to try it out, is every time you spend something on the life side, you could think about, okay, do I want to have this on the life side? Or would I rather put it towards the wealth side? And I mean, these days, making a transfer of money is so easy, right? You pull out your phone, you click a button and it's done. But to be completely honest, I wouldn't recommend that third one unless it's not the only way you put money towards your wealth side. Because one of the major secrets of building wealth is automation. I can tell you, because I've been there, the more you automate, so the more you automate the transfer from your income to all of your wealth accounts, the more reliably and the faster you will build wealth. Because then it's set it and forget it, and to make the decision every time will make it harder and unreliable and also tiring. And now I'm totally excited for your feedback. What do you think? Does it simplify your money? Does it simplify how you think about your money and all of your account structures? Or also how you think about everyday purchases or weekly or monthly purchases? So would love to know. Leave a comment for any insights. And now when you're ready to take the fast way to filling up your wealth side, you definitely should watch this video next, because this is how my net worth exploded. Thank you for watching and I hopefully see you there. Bye-bye.